Hello, everyone. It's me, Kirsten, and this is the It's Giving Mystical podcast. And this is your podcast for the week ahead, the week of October 31st. All right, real talk for a minute. I sat down to do this podcast, shuffled my traditional Rider-Waite deck, which is the deck I almost always use for our readings. And I didn't get some great cards, you guys, but they all kept coming in reverse, which, as you know, I don't really read reversals. But I just felt stuck. Like I couldn't quite get something to come out that felt like it was something for us to hold on to. I don't know how else to explain it. And the reversals, so I switched decks and I went to a new deck, and the card that came out was the Hermit, but it was also in reverse. So we're going to work with the Hermit this week. But what we're really going to notice this week is where things are out of flow. So we're just going to notice where we're really fighting the tide, where things, this feeling of ripeness is going to be with us this week. And the other thing that's going to be with us this week is this sense of something being over. There's just this sense that something is coming to an end, something actually quite painful. So I'm not sure how that's going to land for each of us. And I have a little bit of trepidation about the energy in the week ahead. And I also have some conflict about that trepidation because the sensation is like something very new dropping into place. And the extent to that newness, that didn't really make sense, but the way the newness is going to come in as so new is bringing with it this duality of trepidation and awe, a little bit of like, oh, wow. So I was thinking about that as I was, again, like meditating on the energies, meditating on the cards, meditating on what is going to, when I set the intention for the card I pull for this podcast, it's always this sense of what's going to anchor us, what is going to help us see clearly, what is going to help us navigate, what is going to help us remain in perspective around wherever we are. And what occurred to me while I was sitting with that was the thing I have to do after this podcast is the November podcast. And the November cards, unless I'm doing my calculations wrong, which we know I've done before, is going to be justice and judgment. That's a potent duo. That's a potent duo around rebalancing, around our eyes opening, around seeing things with like from a new vantage point, feels like as important as with a new lens. And we're ending today and ending on this 31st, the October month, which I know I said this should be a very joyful month. And I think in many ways it was. I think in many ways, this word was my mom's favorite words, vivify. And she used to say it, and I'd be like, Mom, that's such an annoying word. But I find myself saying it more and more these days. But this like vivification of, oh, this is me. This is what matters. I was reading this Buddhist something, and it was talking about suffering. And it is true, like life is suffering in so many ways. Choose your devotion wisely. Like nothing will come without pain, without attachment, without loss. Like all of that's rich in our human experience. And there's something about, but what do you choose anyway? What do you align yourself to anyway? And that sun and the wheel of fortune certainly brought us illumination, certainly brought us clarity, certainly brought us a new state of the world, new state of events. And maybe it's a beautiful moment this weekend for this beautiful in-between moment weekend of All Souls Day, All Saints Day, Halloween, Samhain, all of that, for you to sit with it and think, okay, what did happen this month? What did happen in October? Where are things illuminated? Sorry, I look at this window, right? And I sit here a lot, but when I'm doing the podcast, there's always animals dropping into the window. Okay, so a frog just came to visit us, so frog medicine is with us. But there's something about this idea of what has shifted for you in this past month. Where are things clear now in a way that they weren't at the beginning of the month? Again, is that always like easy on the first pass? No. Is it 100% for the liberation of our light, for the liberation of truth and love and freedom in the world? 100%. So however the wheel turned for you in October, whatever shifted for you, I also do feel the way in which this like cord of light further grounded into your body, further grounded into your connection with source, into your connection with spirit. And I hope you feel more like steady in your own system, like clear in your own work, clear in, again, what you are in devotion to. Like, what are you going to do with your one wild and precious life? I hope October helped you grab that with a little more force and a little more clarity and a little more joy. Dare I say joy? Okay, so the week ahead, we're going to get into all of that in the November forecast. But for the week ahead, let's stick with the Hermit. But I really want to just something. Okay, so I'm just going to say all the things because we say what's true and it's always a gift. The Nine of Swords came out in reverse and the Tower came out in reverse. Those are the two cards that I got with my original deck. And I honestly just thought, I don't know if people need that right now. And then I thought, but they're both reversals. And then I thought, but you don't read reversals. And then I thought, yeah, but when all the cards come out in reverse, isn't that telling you something, Kirsten? And so I sat with those two things and what came through, and this is not me whitewashing the tarot. What came through was the end of something. So the end of a nightmare, the end of a dark night of the soul, the end of suffering, and the end of, we talk about the Tower as this desire for our container to crumble and reform so that we can hold more light. I very much feel that for myself in October. I witnessed that in a lot of the women I work with in October. So there is something about, is that always a comfortable process? No. But is that expansion, again, in your service? Yes. And something about the Nine of Swords and the Tarot and the Tower coming out in reverse was like, okay, complete here. Like, we've done the hard part. You've done the hard part. And there is something interesting about that. And it is a little bit of my eternal optimism, but also the truth, right? We're not in completion ever. We're never done with these cycles that we're moving through. We're never done with living until we're done with living. And so might we face difficult moments in the future? For sure. But there's something about the quality of this energy that was like, oh, I have done the hard part. Like, I've done the hard part and I've stayed with it. And that Nine of Swords, interesting because we had Eight of Swords last week, that movement into the Nine of Swords, it's difficult. I would argue that the Nine of Swords is the most difficult card in the tarot. Like, hands down, I could make an argument for that. And part of the reason it's so hard is because it feels endless when you're in it. It feels like I'll never reach the other side of this. I will never see the sunrise again. It feels very lonely. And it's the card of to be in the throes of addiction. So it can feel impossible to imagine a world where you are not like beholden to the thing that is causing you the most pain and the most injury in your life. So that's difficult energy. And I had an uncle who died quite young, and my mother and him were very close. And the Nine of Swords is one of his main cards. And my mom used to really struggle with understanding him via this card. And so I think I have a lot of like personal family stuff bound up in that energy as well. There's a lot of addiction in my family, so that comes up here. And the ways that we injure ourselves, truly, the way that we are the one that hurts ourselves the most. Coming face to face with that is fucking, excuse my language, hard work. And when I pulled that card, it just didn't feel right. Like when I looked at it and I tried to turn it upright and hold it, I was like, I don't know that we're there. Have we been there recently? Probably, but I don't know that we're there right now. And then that's when I pulled the other cards and I got the Tower in particular in reverse. And I thought, okay, what would happen if I took both these cards as reversals? And if you take both those cards as reversals, you see the end of a dark night, like the sun rising again. You see the reforming. You really feel the calm after the storm. And then when I turned to my other deck and I pulled the Hermit, I was like, okay, yes, there's something about that. There's something about patience required to allow the calm to feel trustable, to feel safe, to feel believable. So when we've gone through something very tumultuous, we've gone through something that, again, like really draws us back into ourselves, draws us back into that feeling of it's just me and me, right? That kind of difficulty, the beauty of it, but also the difficulty of it. There's something that draws you back into that. It takes a minute for you to trust what comes next. It takes a minute for you to trust that You won't maybe default back into that or fall back into that. That's not all that life is. And the Hermit is, again, the energy of the year that we're in. So we don't want to lose track of that. And it's trying to show us that every step matters. Like it's trying to show us that you have a light that you are meant to shine in this world. You have work you're meant to do. You have a path that you're meant to reveal at your own feet, but also for all those that come after you. And the work is done step by step. The work is done footfall by footfall, football by football, footfall by footfall. And it comes very much into the energy that we were in last week with the Eight of Swords. Just this sense that when I don't know, like I can't quite explain where I am, where I'm going, why I believe it, the things that I believe as strongly as I do, why I'm as clear about the endings and boundaries that need to be in place as I am. It's like I can't quite draw it into a beautiful myth for you to consume and metabolize and understand and nod your head and say, oh my God, I totally get where you are. Some people won't get where you are. Like, hear that again. Some people won't get where you are. And sometimes you won't get where you are. Sometimes you won't get where you are. And yet you keep living and you keep moving. And so the work in that Eight of Swords week, or the invitation in that Eight of Swords week, was, okay, if I can't quite trust the narrative my brain is building, what do I lean back on? Like, how do I know where to put my next step? How do I know what the path looks like when the path is in mystery or in mist or in fog, which is so much of the way that the Hermit is. And this deck, I love this deck. It's like I think it's like it's not called the fairy tale deck, but it's all based on different fairy tales. And I love this version of the Hermit card. This white stag, this sense of something, some light guiding you forward, some light accompanying you when it gets dark, is here with us and is something, again, that you can fall back into when you're not sure exactly how to explain where you are, where you're going, why you feel as strongly as you do about the things you feel so strongly about. We have such a deep storehouse of instincts and intuitions and feelings and calls and desires and signs and synchronicities. Like the world is alive and talking to us, and we are alive in the world, and we can get so focused on what's happening in our brain. And so the invitation right now is this widening, this deepening into what else is true? What else do I know? How else do I know what I know? How do I know where to go next when I don't know where to go at all? Yeah, I don't know, guys. Like, I want to be like, it's all right. And it is all right. Is it also hard? Yeah, it's also hard. And there's something about really feeling into what else is being orchestrated. Like, how are things connected? Because all things are connected. And we're going to move into the Mystic next month for Mystic Rising, aptly named. And a lot of that conversation is going to be deepening into your sense of connection, deepening into your sense of the world is alive. The world is alive, and it is engaged with you, and it is rooting for you, and it's on your side. And it can sometimes not feel that way. But the cards that are with us right now are saying it's okay to take a minute and get your bearings. I have this sense of this week ahead. Like so those are the cards, but if I bring my vision to the week ahead, there's something that you feel a little bit unprepared for. And so the work you're doing right now, or you're going to encounter something you feel a little bit unprepared for. So the work you're doing now of, I'm not just my mind, I'm not just my history, definitely not just my trauma, I'm not just my desires, I'm so many things. I contain multitudes. And so having that really centered, grounded in your body, when you meet the thing that you might be a little unprepared for, you are okay with it. You can stay steady in it because it feels like an opening. I'm going to meet this thing. I might be a little unprepared for it. And yet there's something in there I want. There's something in that direction that's important for me. And so can I allow myself to be brave and be trusted in a moment where things feel like they are in transition or being revealed to me in a new way. Okay, that's your card for the week. And meditate on the Hermit, meditate on the Nine of Swords in reversal if that feels good, meditate on the Tower in reversal if that feels good. And the last thing I'll say is those 3 cards are really solitary moments. And I do think the call right now is for connection and community. I think we've gone through this very interesting period of exploring isolation and exploring independence in whatever way we needed to. And a lot of what's washed away over this past year are the connections and the communities that did not allow us to be our full self. And my hope for all of us is that we're moving into communities, connections, relationships, conversations where we're allowed to be our beautiful, messy human selves. We're allowed to explore and grow and continue to evolve and become within the nest of community and relationship. This sense of having to go it alone, I think, is breaking down. And I think so much of the pressure we feel coming at us from so many different directions is a pressure to recognize that we were never meant to do this by ourselves. There's work you have to do alone, but life is not meant to be lived alone. And that's maybe the threshold, the moment that we're at. All right, my friends, Hermit card, you are ready for whatever the path reveals for you. And happy November. Happy Halloween. I hope you enjoy. I hope you just make fun and silly on Halloween. I hope you bring some whimsy into your life. And I hope that you find a way to contribute to your community. The revolution, the work, the service, it can come in so many forms. And your voice, your medicine, your music is so needed. And so I hope you can find a way to contribute that accesses the best parts of you, serves the community, and fortifies those connections so that you realize just, how connected we are and how important it is that we honor the truth of that connection. Okay, so much love to you, and I will check you later. Bye.